Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. We got a game week. Miami Dolphins getting ready for the Seattle Seahawks, venturing out on a Friday on the road to the Pacific Northwest, take on the 12th man, Jordan Brooks, Jerome Baker. We got a linebacker revenge game for the ages. You know, should Jerome Baker play? I think he was on the injury report. Have not seen an updated Thursday one as I record this. It is 2:30 Seattle time, so I don't know what time that comes out. But anywho, I know that their injury report yesterday was very, very long. I was like, whoa, I don't think I've ever seen an injury report that was longer than longer than the Dolphins, excuse me. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on when we go into this thing. But you do have a team 2-0. Dolphins in this stretch without Tua. At least 4 games. This is the best team record-wise that they're facing. And I would say probably the best team they're going to face. Either way, I guess we'll see what happens with the Patriots and Jets. Big old hate watching coming up here on Thursday Night Football and see where that goes. But from my standpoint, this is, you talk about the travel that you have to go with, the distance you have to go, underdog, on the road. This was a stat from Adam Beasley, Pro Football Network, who you'll be able to hear on Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show I do on WQAM. 4 hours of pregame coverage coming for you. And this is from Bees. He says, the Miami Dolphins under Mike McDaniel, 2-9. 2-9 record as road underdogs. And I got to say, I do think this is a big game for Mike McDaniel in a lot of ways, because look, Mike is, I think, a really good manager of people, and I think has shown the reason why I think he got the extension almost was because everybody really likes him as a guy, even more so as he's been proven as a coach. I think that he obviously did a wonderful job rehabilitating Tua. He has an innovative offense that a lot of guys are worried about. I think anytime you listen to other coaches speak, they speak highly of Mike. You know, I was listening to Mike McDaniel, the Seahawks coach, this week, and this is the other side of it, right? This is a defensive guru. This is a young stud, 37 years old, you know, kind of at the knee of the Harbaughs, with being with John, then going to Jim, then back to John, and you know, gets this head coaching job, and a lot of guys get big jobs off of that defense, including Anthony Weaver, and the Miami Dolphins are literally facing this defense at practice. DK Metcalf was saying, hey, maybe there's a little bit more blitz, that's a little bit more aggressiveness that's coming from the Miami Dolphins side of things. But I do think for Mike, you know, you got all these weapons at your disposal. You do not have your quarterback. You do not have your rapid fire machine gun point guard, no look passes, all that razzle dazzle stuff. No, but and McDonald was posing this interesting contrast of Tua and Skylar, and just saying that there's a little bit of a wild card with facing Skylar Thompson as opposed to Tua, because Tua is basically, you know, going to get the ball out super, super quick. If not to the first expensive place, maybe a second. But Skylar, as we've seen in the flashes of the preseason, like if he can get on the move a little bit, hold the ball, throw it down the field, take some risks, and especially have his wide receivers pick him up, you know, this I think can flush to the plans of somebody who really wants to deter the first thing. And especially another thing that they have that could be a reliance for them is they have Leslie Frazier, who, of course, one of the teams that's had a lot of success against Miami, even though it's not directly with the Ravens. Leslie is the associate head coach there. Like, he is a big resource for Michael McDonald. And, you know, the Bills having the success that they have of shutting down the 2 race cars in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I think it's a big one for Mike McDaniel to go out there and show that he can make some things happen. Expected that everybody's going to be out there. You know, it's a little bit murky right now with the details, although the good news was today Teron Armstead said he is going to give it a go with his shoulder injury. So hopefully it stays in place. And, his harness works and all that stuff that they have going on there. But, if he's going to have Mostert, you're going to have Achane, you're going to have all these weapons at this kid's disposal. And everybody tells me, hey, you put a ton of quarterbacks in this system with Mike McDaniel. He can make it happen. You've had a week to prepare. More so, honestly, you've known Tua was going to be out. Let's be real about it. So Skylar's had this opportunity. He's more battle tested. Everybody seems to trust him. I guess the question with Skylar is, can Skylar be Skylar? Can he be a guy who is going to take some risks and let the ball rip down the field, or is he going to try and play it safe? Is he going to be a guy who can get into those spots? And, how are the receivers going to adjust, right? Because they've all gotten reps with him in camp. It's not like it's an unfamiliar thing. They can ride with this guy and they can be comfortable with what he's going to bring to the table. But this is where you got to look to Mike, right? Like this is a game where, while the line, I think, is currently at 4, it was at 5.5. It was a pretty juicy line for the Seahawks to cover. Now is coming down a little bit because I think people are like, all these games have been close. Most of the NFL games have been close. The offense hasn't been very impressive. And the Dolphins haven't really looked offensively impressive. Like, they've had a couple of chunk plays with Tua. I think Devon Achane had some great moments, and I think you love his mindset of what he's able to bring, because maybe he's playing a little bit banged up. He don't care. He's more upset about the loss and the carries and the touches. You bring Mostert back into the fold, somebody who Mike McDaniel absolutely trusts. So you don't necessarily have to go back to the well of a Jalen Wright, who maybe is not ready yet. I just think that for Mike, we laud all the things that he can do against an undermanned team, or a team that the Dolphins have always looked, or the Dolphins just look a little bit better than on the pound. But I'm looking for that. Whoa, Mike McDaniel really pulled the wool over their eyes and really took that guy to school, like a guy that we didn't expect him to do it in, right? Like I'm looking for that type of performance from Mike, because I think most people are pretty down in the dumps right now. Most people are pretty down in the dumps. And it is interesting for the Dolphins in a weird way, because obviously I'd rather have Tua healthy, but in a strange way, facing this adversity can show you something off of the Bills' loss that almost, if Tua wasn't there, they couldn't. Because if Tua was playing, there would almost be this burden of, oh, you better go win. I think this week I would be talking about like must-win scenarios, or like you better bounce back, you better look more impressive. And in this way, I just want to say, hey, can this team take the longest trek that there is in the NFL against a creative defense that's 2-0? They got weapons. Maybe they won't all be available. We'll see with DK Metcalf. We'll see with with their other receivers. We'll see if Kenneth Walker's going to be good to go. We'll see what actual elements they got to go up against. But still a team that's won their first 2 games. It's still in a building that's got one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. It's probably right up there with like Superdome, Arrowhead, Lambeau in the winter. Everybody respects what it's like going on the road to Seattle. Like, it's a real bear. It's a real pain in the ass. So can Mike McDaniel, 2-9 as an underdog, can he go out there and, outside of his quarterback, which is a huge loss, all right, is he going to be able to lift this team up and get them to a win where they're not expected to? Can they play discipline in that loud environment? Can they ease things for Skylar Thompson? Can they lean on the run game? Can they make it so they're dictating the terms? Jordan Brooks made an interesting point about this, because he's played more games there than anybody. He goes, look, 12th man is a thing if we let it be a thing. If you could take the fans out of it, if you can, they're like anybody else. If you can get any fan base flat. There's no such thing in this day and age of a fan base that stays crazy if things are going against their team. All fans pop out of their seats and they get motivated for the most exciting parts of games, or when they think they're having an impact, or when they think they're being loud. But if the ball is sticking with your team and you're dictating long drives, you could take them out of it. And so that's going to be the interesting thing with Mike McDaniel this upcoming week in McDaniel versus McDonald and seeing who is the true guru.